would say, I don't think market making is really trading.
Oh, they're definitely traders, for sure.
It sounds like you don't stand for anything concerning about technical analysis.
No, I don't.
And is it true that the data or indicators you use as reference are never available for the retail traders?
No, that's not true.
There are a lot of technical traders among our audience. They won't agree with that.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
And trading's about opinions.
他的职业标签是一名做市商，在32岁的年纪就实现了我们大多数人都可望不可及的财富自由，非常棒的一件事情。我并没有接触过他，对他的唯一了解都来自于伦敦交易者的音频采访。如果说最深的印象，我想大概可以用2个词来概括：天赋异禀和固执己见。
Hi Gary, thanks for coming here.
My pleasure.
Okay, so Gary, if I want to put a label to define you as a trader, that would be a market maker, right?
Market maker, non-directional trader.
Chinese traders don't have so much conception about market makers, so
Sure.
we got a lot of responses after your interview was published, was posted, and some would say, I don't think market making is really trading, and market makers are not truly traders. So what do you think about that?
Oh, they're definitely traders, for sure. And in most markets where they exist, where they have market makers, they are generally the most skillful traders in the markets, and they have to be. Where their job is to actually make a price or make a market, they have to be the first people to understand that there's a change in sentiment or something's changing. So their skills have to be really sharp. As soon as there's any kind of change in market conditions, they're the first to know. Or in simple terms, really your job is just to say, what is this contract worth right now? Can I buy it a little bit cheaper than that? Or could I sell it a little bit more expensive? Sure.
And after so much definition, can you summarize the characteristics of market making? Okay, I'll start the first one. You guys don't care about what happens like 30 minutes before or after the market, because you don't care the market trend, right?
Whatever it is I'm trading. Right now, what can I buy and sell this contract for? And just try and pick up, a small amount of money, but do that lots and lots and lots of times. Where it is in half an hour's time, I don't know. I don't care. Right now.
So that's the most important characteristics of market making, right? Because you say market making is like being the bookmaker. And it's always going to be the bookmaker who wins the money day after day. But if so, and is it true that the data or the indicators you use as reference are never available for the retail traders?
No, that's not true. So the information we use is very available to everybody.
Because I thought you guys use some indicators like very mysterious and different from retail traders, so you can win more money. So it is not true.
No, it's just our understanding of the way the market works. And that's where it starts as a market maker, understanding how does this market work, what it changes people's opinions, and what information is important to tell me that. And most retail traders cut through around that, and they just look at the chart, and the view is with a chart that you don't have to learn everything else. The chart tells you what's happened.
Yeah.
It tells you what's happened, but it doesn't tell you why it happened. And a lot of the time, the why it happened is really crucial information.
Yeah, I get it.
Really crucial information. So if the price of oil, for example, if there's a spike and it jumps, on a chart you can see it an hour later. But if you know the reason why it spiked, maybe there was an event that happened or a tweet that happened or something that went on, you would now not use that information anymore, because it's only going to happen again if that same event happens. But on a chart, you ignore the context and you just say, well, that moved up, therefore. And so part of being a market maker is to understand there is a context behind that move. A chart cannot tell me anything.
But as far as I'm concerned, there are few traders, to teach your kind of trading, and those who claim to, they are not teaching the proper thing.
Agreed.
So does it mean that for retail traders, market making is not, they should not be taken into consideration, because maybe they shouldn't waste some time and money to learn something unprofessional?
It's a good point. I think as a trader, you have to aim to trade the best you can, the most professional way, the best you can, or else you're probably better off not trading, right? Because if you trade poorly, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So you're right, there's not a lot of people do it, but that doesn't mean that people shouldn't be looking at, don't look for turning points and tops and bottoms, because that's a kind of a false belief that we can pick those. At the very least, if you're trading for only 5 seconds, your chances of losing a lot of money on a trade has been reduced down to quite small. The longer you hold a trade, the more likely it is you're going to have a big loser. So even if they just do that, they've made an improvement. So even if people take on board some of those ideas and try and get in and out quickly, they'll start to get on a better track.
据他自己说啊，他不认可任何形式的技术分析。他说，如果你有证据来推翻我、来质疑我，随时都非常欢迎。而且他以散户为反向的交易指标，他也质疑目前非常流行的自动化交易。好像从他那里呢，你永远都能听到以往不同于主流的一些新鲜观点。而且他的态度是如此的诚恳以及自信，以至于让我怀疑啊，让我很好奇，到底是怎样的一种交易环境，才能让他对自己的观点如此笃定呢
？You started your trading career at the age of 18,
Yep.
and now you live by the beautiful beach of Australia, and you achieved. It didn't take a long time for you to achieve the financial independence, which most of us are still striving for. So I want to ask you that, how much percentage do you think the talent and luck plays in your trading career?
So we'll go with the luck first. The story was basically I went for a job at an investment bank as the most junior person on the desk. Literally the job was just to write tickets every time the traders traded. So it was not a trading position, it was just a junior ticket writer job. But it was a very busy time in the market, and they wanted someone to start Monday morning. They were ringing round the person that was their number one choice on the Friday evening, and they couldn't get him. It was before mobile phones, 1989, so no mobile phones. They couldn't get him. So they rang me. I think I was second or third person on the list.
Okay.
I could start Monday morning, so that's how I got the job. That's luck, okay? Then what happened was that I joined the Japanese market just as the Nikkei was crashing.
Yeah.
And what I was doing, my job was to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, and leave at 4. But I was coming in at 6 and leaving at 7. And another thing that I was doing, which none of the other junior guys did, was I was going out in the mornings and getting breakfasts for all the traders. They pay me, okay? Now it sounds like an odd thing, right? But the point about that part is that after a few months of the Nikkei was crashing at the time, the management saw that the team was losing a lot of money and needed to make changes. So they demoted 2 of the traders back down to assistant traders. And they were then going to combine their trading book and promote 1 person up. And I got promoted. I was the newest person on the desk, and I got promoted. And the 2 reasons they said was, number 1, hard work. I was paid to come in from 9 till 4. I came in from 6 till 6 or 6 till 7.
Okay.
And secondly, the humility, because I didn't think of myself as too big. I'd go out and get people breakfast in the morning. That's how I got the trading book 6 months after leaving school.
Okay, I get it. Some of your experience which seems lucky, but it was more than luck. It's really a matter of personality.
Yeah, and luck is a thing, and it also comes about the way you trade.
You
It's gonna happen.
You smile a lot when you speak of retail traders. And as a successful trader, you don't think trading is for everyone. And so when would be the time for them to give up?
Except for the hard working and humility that you just mentioned, what other things do you think that traders should take notice, especially to become better, to become professionals?
I think one of the key things is if you get to that point where it's almost an addiction. If you're trading and you're losing money, but you still enjoy trading, you've got a problem.
Okay.
You've got a problem.
Okay.
Because you're almost, when I hear people talk about the excitement of trading, the buzz, oh, I love trading, I love it, I love that buzz, I love that
But
excitement.
they're supposed to,
It's
right?
not supposed to be that way.
No.
No. So if you love the excitement, that's not what we want. We want you to only love winning. We want you to love winning. Okay, if you're losing and you enjoy it, you're a loser. Okay, you have to hate losing. So traders have a mentality of love winning, hate losing. And there comes some psychological aspects like random rewards. If you're being rewarded randomly, so you're using a chart pattern, sometimes it wins, sometimes it loses. We know from psychology that that's addictive. Sometimes you get rewarded and sometimes you don't. And you don't know the difference between the times that you get rewarded and don't. That's addictive and that's a problem for us. So what we want is a trading style where we're making money most of the time. And then when we lose, we can figure out what the problem is and correct it.
Yeah.
That's the mentality you have to have to be successful.
It's not like you like losing, but they're supposed to, have the eager to win very badly, right? You have to be excited about the trading itself, right?
You have to want to trade, but one of the things is, if you think about an athlete, think about a professional sportsman. So here in China, basketball is a really good sport, right? A very popular sport. If we think about a basketball player who's got, maybe there's 2 seconds to go and he's got a foul, he's at the free throw line. What you don't want at that point is for that basketball player to have excitement, adrenaline, nerves all running through him. What you want, what he needs, is to be calm, to stand on the free throw line and know, I've done this and what I do is right, my skills are good, I back myself, and the reason why you practice something thousands of times is that when you have that important time, he just goes up and he puts it in.
I remember you said in the interview that you don't use volume profile.
There's 4 or 5 key bits of information that we use, but I can't, I'm not going to say, but I can tell you that I don't use volume profiles. They all, in my opinion, are flawed.
Because you think they are all flawed, but you didn't explain in a further way. So, what kind of flaw do they have?
Okay, so I would classify market profile or volume profile or anything that's of that kind. I classify them as a form of technical analysis.
Oh.
From my perspective, the flaw in it is that you're using information that is sometimes 20 minutes or half an hour old, and you're saying, oh well, this guy's been buying, or this volume has been accumulating, or whatever the volume reason they're using is, over a period of time. And then you're saying because of that it's going to do something, So if an event happened, for example, in the Middle East right now, and the price of oil went up, you would understand that, right? And we'd all say, yeah, that event's happened, the price of oil goes up, that's fair enough. What I'm saying is that event and that price change is only relevant now.
Okay.
20 minutes later, if it turns out that that was not a real story, it didn't actually happen, okay, then I shouldn't be using that information for my trading.
It sounds like you don't stand for anything concerning about technical analysis.
No, I don't.
Do you have any friend, use technical analysis and become successful? No.
So one of the points was that when I wrote the first book was I'd been in the City of London for 15 years and I'd never worked with any traders who used it. But I knew a lot of people that used it, but they weren't traders. They were technical analysts or brokers or people on what we call the sell side of the business. But the traders on the trading desk and in the pits, remember, if you're standing in a pit, you haven't got a chart in front of you live. You're just working on the information that I use as a market maker. What's the bids and offers? What's the liquidity looking like? What are other markets doing? The so-called success of technical analysis isn't a success. If you look at it, and that's why I researched it, there's a mountain of evidence that the vast majority of people that use it lose money. And that's not a view. There are studies and research that shows that the vast majority of people that use it lose money.
Okay.
But out of that, you have the problem of what we call, either the law of numbers or the survivorship bias, which is if I teach someone, let's say a head and shoulders chart pattern, right, which I'm pretty confident is nonsense, right? But let's say if I teach it to 5,000 people, and there's 5,000 people use the head and shoulders pattern, even if it's a useless indicator, some people will still make money from it, just because of the numbers.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And so what you see is the guy that makes money from it says, I made money from that pattern, therefore it works. The other 4,900 that lost, they don't tell everybody on the forums, I lost money. They disappear.
But if technical analysis is that unreliable, why so many traders, especially retail traders, chase after it and I know you said indicators are shortcuts, but is it really something wrong, to seek for some proved shortcuts in trading?
I think the shortcuts are dangerous, and in my book, I refer to a story that I'll go through now.
People love shortcuts.
They love shortcuts, but the other point is one day my son was about 4 or 5, and you're trying to teach your children to eat healthily, for example, right? And my son said to me one day, Dad, why do people go to fast food outlets and eat fast food restaurants? Because the food's unhealthy. Why would anybody eat food that's unhealthy? It's a good question. Just because they're convenient. And it's easy.
Food.
It's easy. And that's why in my book, An End to the Bull, I coined that industry the junk food financial industry. What they're giving people is the convenient, easy methods of trading. Learn this pattern, learn this indicator, off you go, your trade. Is it good for you? No.
Yeah, some of them are proved to be useful. So is it really wrong to seek for the shortcuts like that?
So I talk about the psychological aspect, behavioral finance. In economics, the area of behavioral finance is relatively new in economics. The investigation into us and how we think has said that humans look for shortcuts. And those shortcuts are wrong. You have to eliminate them from your trading. So again, I'm going to give a talk about trading psychology, and one of the most important things is eliminate these shortcuts. They're bad for you, and behavioral finance tells us that.
Okay.
It tells us that looking for patterns. The last time I saw that happened. Therefore, the next time I saw that will happen. Well, that's one observation. You can't make decisions like that. But humans, we like to do that. So what has happened is that technical analysis, it appeals to us. We want to believe that. We want to believe that these patterns exist. We want to believe there's an easier way. Where people have said they've separated traders from technical traders, fundamental traders, and others. And there was a University of Amsterdam study into it. And by far the worst traders, were the technical traders.
That's a topic the traders really concerned about. Because there are a lot of technical traders among our audience. They won't agree with that.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
And trading's about opinions.
It's really hard to explain.
And I have an opinion. Actually, when I wrote the book, I didn't set out, my first book that is, I didn't set out to be anti-technical analysis. I actually studied technical analysis under two very famous technical analysts. And it struck me that what they were teaching me didn't fit with how markets work. That's why I was skeptical. And I was horrified at, that's nothing like what any of us do. But I knew it wasn't enough for me to just say, I think that's wrong. So that's why I spent 2 years, and I didn't spend 2 years trying to prove technical analysis wrong. That's not what I did.
You were not trying to persuade someone.
No. What I was actually, because if it works, it's in my interest as a trader to take it on. So what I did was I contacted institutions around the world, dozens and dozens, universities, central banks. There's hundreds and hundreds of studies. I'm dumb if I find out that this works and I don't use it. So unfortunately, my first book, the publisher put a really high price on it, so it didn't sell many. But I think if people read it, and I put that out there for technical analysts, please read this book and tell me why it's wrong. And No, I went and talked, and I tried to talk to groups of technical analysts. Sometimes they would listen, but never question. Sometimes they wouldn't allow me to talk.
More and more important part among Chinese traders. So I want to know, is it a little bit too absolute to say, there's no one who studies psychology would use chart patterns?
And in fact, the New York Federal Reserve, after their studies into Head and Shoulders pattern, referred to traders that use them as noise traders, and noise is effectively a term that's used as the opposite of good information. Some traders use good information to trade with, and some people just use noise. And they actually refer to people that use chart patterns as noise traders, which was again a behavioral finance term to say you think that this is real, but it isn't.
You know what is interesting, that part of me really agree with you, but another part of me know that how popular technical analysis is in China, and this situation won't change for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So I am really interested in you talk about this kind of thing. And speaking of the retail traders, when they do the trading, most of them do the prediction, price prediction, and I guess you don't stand for it.
No.
So is there any other type of trading except for the price prediction?
Yeah. So the price prediction is really the retail way of trading. The presentation I'm giving in a few days' time is about non-directional trading. So today, for this session, I'm going to focus on trading volatility, trading market movement in a non-directional way, and a market-making style. And also, even with futures, you're looking more at that market making, that what I would call scalping, that in and out very quickly.
Yeah.
Don't care what the market's doing in 5 minutes time. Buy here, sell here, get out. Buy here, sell here, get out. It protects you as well as a retail individual trader. That's protecting you from the big guys, hitting you and you losing money quickly. If you look at a lot of the best hedge funds in the world, biggest hedge funds, they're using strategies which are a lot of the time non-directional. And the more that you progress through this industry, the more you want to take on trading styles which are non-directional. And it's at that point that you can see that people are transitioning from retail to more professional standard. If you're still trying to guess who's going to win the race, you're still trading like an amateur. I see my role, what I'm trying to do, is to try and show a glimpse of that side of the industry. But I absolutely don't expect the majority of people to trade the way that I say, or to, I don't expect that. I'm not trying to persuade everybody. I know I can't. But all I can do is tell people, this is what those of us that have been in professionals, this is how we've traded for the last.
看起来这是一个对自己的风格有着非常坚持的一个交易员。一开始的时候呢，其实我是拒绝而且不太承认的，因为他抛出的观点实在是太过绝对了。但是后来我想，他并没有错，因为我们面对的是一个太过复杂的世界，我们大脑的容量呢又太过有限。如果你想去扩大这个容量，我们只能像他一样继续去往前走。就像他自己说的一句话，我印象非常深刻：我必须成为少数派，因为多数的人他们都在输。
I don't know much about market making, and I don't know things in Western country, but Chinese traders, especially the retail traders, they don't really know about market making. And to be honest, some of them just don't care about it.
I've given talks before to retail traders, and this point gets raised a lot. What you tell us is different to what everybody else is saying. My answer to that is, I'm pleased. Because we know 100% fact, the vast majority of retail traders lose. So what I say to people is, when they tell me what you're saying is different to what everybody else is, my answer is good. I want it to be different. I do not want to be like the retail traders, and that sounds harsh, right? But that's it. And I've said before, and again, this sounds harsh, and I don't want this to come across as arrogance or in a wrong way, but the day that the style of trading that I do, the day that that becomes the normal trading for retail traders, is the day that I have to stop trading.
You want to be the minority.
I have to be. The majority lose.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, people have comfort as a human being in being in the majority. You want to be doing what everybody else is doing. That's a comfort thing of humans. But in trading, it's a fact, the majority lose. So if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're most likely to lose.
Okay.
That is a fact. And I'm trying to put that out there, just to, if I can persuade 5 people to think differently, not even take up market making, but even just scalping futures in and out quickly, just changing your time horizon down to a few seconds is going to change a lot of things about your trading.
The Chinese, the financial environment and the investment environment in China is quite different from that of Western countries. So do you have any suggestions for Chinese traders, maybe in terms of trading psychology or training courses? Because they always seek for training courses online.
Yeah. I think the key with everything who you're learning from, what's their background, what type of style you're using. Does it have edge? Is it the same in trading? A lot of people call themselves traders, but the difference between that and what a professional's doing is massive. Ask yourself, go and research the big guys in this business, the guys that have been around for 20, 30 years, who have managed money, big money, either at hedge funds or banks, and you will find that almost all of them, if not all of them, are not using that. So have a look at what they're doing. I'm not saying that you can copy volatility arbitrage at home, although it's a good strategy, but what I try and do is set people on that path. And I say to people, there's amateur traders, there's professionals. Don't aim here, aim here. If you don't make it, you'll still end up better than these guys, but aim to be there. But there's a big gap, you know. But saying that, the challenge is awesome. If you love a challenge, it's a fantastic business. It's a great business, I love it. And it's because I love it that I want to set people on the right path.
Are you that kind of person who would make really clear plans for your life? Because you seem like, you know, you will plan for everything, you will behave disciplined like while you're doing the trade.
Yeah, no, not as planned in my life as I am with trading. But yeah, reasonable. I'm not someone that also just takes off on a whim. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, maybe you're right actually. Maybe I do cheat life as a trader. Yeah, it's the only thing I've ever done. I've done it since I was 18, so it's a big part of me.
Yeah.
我想这个时代并不缺接近完美的人，缺的是我们从内心发出的一些无畏、坚持以及探索。从某种意义上来说，你有了坚守的原则，一个人才能区别于众生而成为自己。我想这大概也是我找到的什么是交易的答案。
开阔了眼界，
对于能构建自己的交易系统或者交易方法有非常大的帮助。在网站上接触不到一些新知识，
打开了自己更多的路子。
Overall, the whole experience has been very positive and excellent.
So people want to learn. It's I would say it's a young market. I've done hundreds of these over the years. This is the best one ever done or been to. Extremely professional.